What's up, everyone? A lot of people have been asking how to code your BMW. I do have one video on how to code it, but this is going to be a how-to of start to finish, everything you need to code, all the software, all the cables, everything that is needed to code your BMW. To start off, I just want to mention that you do need some sort of Impa cable or k+dcan cable. If you have one already and you're just playing around with it, I will advise that you have pins 7 and 8 bridged on the cable. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will put a link in the description to bridging pins 7 and 8 on the cable. If you don't have a cable at all, what I recommend is buying the cable that I'm going to have linked in the description. It is a cable that already has pins 7 and 8 connected, so you can code any BMW from 1998 all the way up until I think around 2010, or actually I think all the way up to like 2013, anything that uses the dcan interface, and there is a list online. So to start off, you're gonna need to go in the description and download these three files. This one's just already been taken out of its folder, but these three files, you're gonna need Beamer Geek's standard tools, I'll have a link to that, and NCS dummy, which is going to interpret how we actually read the German coding and put it into English. So to start off, I'm just going to extract these files. So once those files are extracted, you should have NCS dummy. There should be three files. There should be your Beamer Geek standard tool, which has NCS expert inside of it, as well as Impa. And then you should have these three, well, you only need, I think, the first three. Actually, you need the four. This profile file doesn't do anything, but you need these files. They'll probably be in a folder. You can extract those too. So once you're done with that, open up Beamer Geeks folder, and then there is, you're going to start by installation instructions if you want to look at them, but I'm going to show you guys what to do. I'm running Windows 10, I should mention. If you're using Windows 10, you're going to have to run this in compatibility mode. You should be able to use Windows XP on this. If not, I have another guide, but this is primarily for Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. So you're going to right click, and then you can just go under Properties. Again, only if you're running Windows 8 or Windows 10. Compatibility. Run this program in compatibility mode for Windows 7. And then just click Apply, OK. Again, if you missed any of this, you can follow along, and the instructions are right there. And then you can run as administrator. Click Yes. OK. And click Next. Click Agree. Next. Leave these alone, whatever the preset is. Itibus, Wink, FP/NFS, Impa, and NCS Expert tool. Just leave those how they are, or how mine are, and then click Next. Click Next, 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 Next. Don't execute the backup and restore wizard. Just uncheck those two, and click Next. Click Next. Click OK here. Here you want to leave it at OBD, so STD:OBD. Leave it like that. Leave it at COM1. You don't need to check USB to serial. And then finally click Install and wait for this to install. And then right here where it says yes to restart computer, I can change that to no, I will restart the computer later, and then click Finish. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to open up your Beamer Geeks standard tools folder again, and then you're going to want to copy these three folders right here. You're going to want to copy ES Apps, Itibus, and NCSX. It should be Expert. I don't know why it's cut off. That's just how they did it. So now you're going to navigate to your C drive. So C, and then you're going to want to go to right here. You're going to see the same three files. You're going to want to delete those. So you're going to want to delete NCS Expert. You're going to want to delete Itibus. and you're going to want to delete EC apps. Delete. And then you're going to want to paste those folders that you just copied, those 3 that you just copied from the Standard Geeks folder. You're going to want to paste them into the root of your C drive. The next step is to open back up your Beamer Geek Standard Tools. Open up this folder called OCX. Copy these 3 files out of it. Now, depending on your system, if you have a 32 or 64-bit system, you're going to want to paste these files in different locations. So the easy way to check is if you go File Explorer, navigate to your C drive, and then navigate to your Windows folder, and then scroll down. If you have a folder that's called syswow64, this is where you're going to paste them. And if you don't have this folder, syswow64, you can just do a Windows search for it. Or if you just know that you don't have a 64-bit or do have a 64-bit, you can put it there. But if you don't have a 64-bit system, you're going to throw those 3 files into the System32 folder. And in this case, as you can see, I have the syswow folder. I have a 64-bit system, so I'm just going to paste those 3 files in here. I already have them in here, so I'm just going to replace these files in the destination, but you probably won't have that option. This might pop up. Just check, do this for all current, click continue, and should copy. So now that those are copied into your onto your drive, into your C drive, you're going to want to open back up the folder. You're actually going to open up the instructions folder just so you can copy the commands. It's easier. You're going to bring up a new command prompt, and make sure you run it as an administrator because it will not actually put the commands in to the right. It won't allow the permission for it to actually edit the registry. So if you go under, if you right click on command prompt, if you're running Windows 7, it should just say run as administrator, but if you're running Windows 10, right click on it if it's in the Windows bar and click run as administrator. Click yes. And here is something. If you have a 32-bit system, you can skip down to this line right here where you copy and paste that. But if you don't have a 64-bit system, you can, if you have a 64-bit system, you can copy this file right here and start here and just paste it. And now we're in that. And again, if you have a 32-bit, you can pick back up with us right now, and you can start by copying and pasting this file. So I copied that, and I'm going to paste it. Click enter. This should pop up saying that succeeded. If it did not succeed, the reason why is because you did not run the command prompt as an administrator. Make sure up here it says administrator command prompt. If it doesn't, you're not running it as an administrator. So now we can carry on to the next one. And finally, the last one. And it says that it has succeeded. So now you can plug in your cable, plug it into one USB, and keep that USB port that you always use. This popped up just because I'm running a virtual machine on my Mac, but this should not pop up if you're just running a straight Windows computer. So you can close out of this. You can right click on the Windows and you can go to Device Manager, and we should see our device pop up under here, right under ports. If you have a mark next to it, like something that it doesn't have a right driver, just click Update Driver Software, search automatically, and it should be able to find the latest software for your DCAN cable. At least that's how I got mine. I just Windows just determined it automatically what the right drivers were. If not, sometimes your disc does come with a CD for the driver. If you have any problems with the drivers, let me know. I can try to help you out over that. But once you have the drivers updated, you might not even need to update drivers. They might be fine, but you're going to go Properties, Port Settings, Advanced, and then you want to set it to COM port 1. If you can't set it to COM port 1, the reason is because something else is using it. And if you just go to the other thing that is using it, so let's say, for instance, the communication port was set to COM port 1, but I needed COM port 1 for my cable. You can just right-click on this, click Properties, go under Port Settings, Advanced, and you can change it to a different COM port. So COM port 1 is now open, so you can now come to your USB serial and change that to COM port 1. Again, I didn't have this problem. I've had this problem in the past, but I didn't have this problem this time. So once you make sure that this says COM port 1, change the latency timer to 1, and you can press OK. Exit out of all of this. And at this time, I would recommend restarting your computer, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'll be back once I have my computer restarted. Alright, so we're almost ready to begin coding. The last step, we have to just update the profiles for NCS Expert, and then we can begin coding. So if you go back to your C drive, open that up, find a folder that says NCS Expert without the T missing, and then open up a folder called PFL. And now you want to copy, where is it? You want to copy these 5 files that are right here. Again, I don't think you need all of them. I just do it as a precautionary. This shouldn't pop. Actually, this will pop up. Just click Replace Files in Destination. It might not pop up. It might. I'm not really sure, depending on your installation. All right. So now that we have everything's installed, you should now notice that you have an Impa icon. We'll open up that real quick. So Impa is used to diagnose your car. You can use this to run any sort of diagnostics on your car. This one supports a lot of cars. This version supports a lot of new cars. It even supports some like F07, F01, F02. But for this case, I'm using an E46, so that's what I'll be doing. But I'll show you later. So right now, you can see that it's saying that cable detected because I have my cable plugged into my computer. But what's not plugged in is my car. So I'm not plugged into my car right now, so it says ignition off, so it can't read the car. So as long as this is up and working for now, I'll go to the car later after and show you guys how to actually code. So let's now make sure NCS Expert looks like it's working. So this is NCS Expert. It's pretty basic. I'll show you how to work it and everything like that. But you have to be very careful with what you do because you can code all sorts of different modules to your car, and it's a very advanced program that you can and do risk screwing up if you don't follow these instructions correctly. So first thing, you're going to want to go up to Load Profile, and now you see these different names here. Those were the profiles that we pasted in right before we opened up these programs. These were the profiles to know what is actually can be coded and what your car can take. The regular NCS Expert just has a expert mode and doesn't really work well. This helps it work much better. So open up the RevTers NCS Expert profile, and then once that's opened up, everything's all set. So you have all the profiles in, everything seems to be working, and your cable's being detected. So the only next step is to actually, I'm going to go to my car, plug it in, show you guys how to actually pull off the file, and then I'm going to show you how to code a couple things. I'm not going to go through all the coding options. I will put a link online of where you can look at a lot of the coding options depending on your car. Different cars have different options. In this video, I'm probably going to show you how to code. I'm going to show you how to code, how to have your windows roll themselves down with your key. I'm going to show you how to code the double impulse hazards. I'm going to code how to make your all your lights be on, so your fog lights, high beams, and low beams all be on at once. There's a million different coding options. Every BMW has more. Some have more, some have less. I have an E46. It's not quite as advanced as something like an E60 or an E90, but again, I'll show you some of the basics, and you can go in yourself, scan the different modules. You do one individually, I'll show you that, and you can play around with NCS Dummy and see what they all read about what they do, and then you can decide if you want to do them or not. I'm just going to show you a couple that I know and some of the most sought after ones that people really want on their BMW.
So now I'm outside of my car with my Impa k+dcan cable. As you can see, this one has a switch. So this is one that has pins 7 and 8 bridged. So to have it pin 7 and 8 bridged for your car for coding, in this case it's all the way to the left. Or I have a 4-pin switch, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So all the way to the left. Yours just might be 1, or it could be the other way. You might have to play around with it, depending on when we plug it into the computer. If NCS Expert doesn't recognize it, just move it over 1 and keep doing. Depending on how many switches you have. I have 4. I can do 4 clicks with it. That's how you'll know how many times. So in the E46, the OBD2 port it's kind of hard to show. It's right up here. So if you pull this latch down, it plugs in right there. Some other cars, some other BMWs have their OBD ports right here. You pull off a cover and it's right there. But for the E46, like I said, or in some other BMWs, the port's right here. So you make sure the light's facing out. That's how I always remember what way it goes in. So once inserted, you'll have a red light, and then I'm gonna come over here to my laptop. And I have my laptop. I try putting it like this so you guys can see it better. And then plug in right here. I'm gonna plug in my USB. And then this popped up saying, do you want to connect to Windows? And now that it's connected, you're going to want to have your key in the ignition and put it into position 2. So 1 click. I just went right to 2. So 1 click where nothing's on. 2 click where you hear the beep and the display lights up. So now I'm going to switch over to the screencast so you guys can see better what's going on. All right, so once your cable's plugged into your computer recognizes it, and you are have your car in position 2. We're going to start by launching Impa. Just make sure that everything's connected. And as you can see here, it says cable detected, yes, and ignition on. Both of these are black. If they're not both black, then either your car's not in position 2, it's not plugged in, or the driver isn't understanding what's going on. So once that's running, you can just exit out of that. Do you want to quit? Yes. Now we can open up NCS Expert tool. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go load profile and make sure it says RevTur's NCS Expert profile. And now it should pull your VIN. Actually, you have to click start first. Chassis. Choose the chassis you have. In this case, I have an E46, which is a 3 Series from 1999 to 2006, I believe, or you might have an E90. They're basically all here, even minis. Mostly, if your option's not in here, you're going to have to update some sort of file system in it, and they're online, and there's different websites. I'll try to remember to put a link to how to do that. But for the most part, if you're coding an E series, the option should be here. So you're going to click OK. And then if you have a facelifted car, which is 2001 or newer, you're going to click AKMB or ALSZ. If you have pre-2001, you're going to want to click EWS or KMB. Since I have a post-facelift car after 2001, I have 2002 330 Ci, I'm going to click the top option. And now, if it times out and nothing pops up here, that means you're not making connection with Impa. With NCS Expert. And the reason why could be because your pins 7 and 8 are not bridged, or you don't have it in the right direction if you have a switch. Like I showed earlier, if you can't tell which direction is considered bridge, you can just if an error pops up saying like cable not found, iNet 009, something like that, basically they're not communicating, and that's when you want to look at making sure your pins are bridged if you are bridging them, or making sure your switch is set to the bridge position, because a lot of the time they're not labeled like mine. So now that we have that, we're actually going to pull the file to read. So we're going to click back. Then we're going to click, we don't want to process every ECU. We want to do one at a time. So depending on what you want coded, they're in different modules. Like your light, having your lights flash differently, like your high beams all on at once. That is in, or the Euro, or the double pulse flash, that's in the ALSY. If you want to just do like your windows to roll up with the remote, that's in the GM5. So each module you want to run, you want to grab it from a different place, or else actually you won't have the option inside of NCS Dummy. So for this case, I'm going to go process ECU. I'm just going to choose the GM5 because that's where the option is. On the list that I put in the description that has them all, it'll say where these options are located, so you don't have to guess around, read each file to find out what is in what. But we're going to choose the GM5. Okay. This is going to pop up. You're going to click OK. Now, you see where it says SG cohere? That means to read the code. We actually want to change that to... that means to write the code. We want to change that to read the code. So if you go change job, change that to coder date and lesson, click OK, and now you're going to click execute job. So it said coding active, coding ended, so the coding's done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to minus this. We are going to open up NCS Dummy. We're going to choose the car we have. So in this case, I have an E46. And I should mention with NCS Dummy, make sure, if you leave it on your desktop like I do, make sure you leave the translations and the config file all in the same location. So I left them all on my desktop, or else it won't know. So go to modules. So I did pick the GM5, so you're going to come down here to GM5. Now, there's different options, and depending on what version of the GM5 your car has, that's the one you want to click. And you don't know, it will show an error if it's wrong. I'll show you. Like GM5.c01 is not the correct one. I'm just demonstrating it. So now you want to browse for your file, and the file is going to be saved in C drive, NCS Expert, work folder, and then you're going to look for FSW_PSW and make sure it says .trace file. You can change it by date modified, and you can see 1223. Well, we scanned it in. It's 1224. That's when we scanned it in. So that's our correct file. And again, make sure it's the trace file, the FSW_PSW trace file. And then you're going to click open. As you can see right down here, it says an error occurred while reading, and it just says make sure chassis. Alright, so that's saying that this is not the right GM file. Let's try C02. Right there, no error, so I'm good. This is the correct GM5 module that I need. So now let's go through some of the coding options you can do. So for the GM5, some of the best ones, or the ones that everyone wants, are, let me find it. I mean, again, any of these, if you don't have them enabled, you can read about them and enable them. Like if you don't have one touch enabled on the rear door, like I don't have one touch enabled on the rear doors, on the rear windows, I can enable that where they just go down with one touch. Some of the door locking functionality, some people like this, where you can change it, all the doors to unlock at once. Instead of, if you notice when you unlock your car, you have to press the unlock button once to unlock the driver door, twice to unlock the passenger and rear doors if you have a 4-door. So some people like the one press unlocks all the doors. So if you want that, just click it and you have it. Yeah, if you want to add an alarm system in the future, you can check it, enable alarm, enable. This is for the ultrasonic sensor. If you want to add the visuals of having an alarm and you don't actually have an alarm in your car, like you don't have the modules, you just want your clown nose to blink and your lights to blink when you lock it, You can enable visual alarm hazards, visual alarm low beams, high beams, and visual locking knowledge. Visual locking knowledge when all doors are closed, that one. This one you need, this one, basically this one. All these ones you see in here are the ones you need. Here we go. This is the one that everyone wants. To have your windows to roll up with the car. So it's called Comfort. If either one of these are disabled, you can enable them. Comfort opening with remote, power windows, sunroof, or convertible top. So if you unlock the car and hold the unlock button, all the windows, the sunroof, rear windows will drop. That's cool. A lot of the cars do it. But a lot of them don't allow you to close them with the key. And that's what this does. Comfort closing with remote. So if you want that, just change it from NIC active to active enabled, like I have it here. You can have the doors automatically lock at a certain speed depending on what key number you're using. Enable that one. One touch closing rear windows, because I do not have that one enabled. So once you're done, once you have everything enabled that you want, if you have headlight cleaning, if you retrofitted that, you can add that. If you don't want to use your rain sensor, like some stuff you can add. So once you put on whatever you want, just double checking there's nothing else in here that's interesting. That appears all. So once you're done, you can click export, and make sure you click export fsw_psw.man. So export that, and it says exported to, so now that's exported and you're all set. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open back up NCS Expert, go back to it. You shouldn't have closed it, just go back to it. And then you're going to want to go change job to SG k+dcan, which means write the code, SG k+dcan. So then you're going to click OK. Then you're going to click execute job. It's going to say coding active, coding ended. You're all set. So now you can go back to the main, exit this out, and now what I recommend, what I always do, is I cycle the car off and then back on. So I'll go back to my camera to show you guys that and show you that it's actually working. So now, right after I'm coding, I'm going to just shut it off all the way, turn it back to 2 clicks, and test out what I did was working. So in this case, I'm doing my rear windows. And it works. So let me show you, that's not really cool to show you. Let me show you one that actually is cool, having my windows rolled up. So if I have the windows open and I press the lock button and I hold it, my windows rolled up all by themselves with the key, and they should roll all the way down. Cool. So I'm gonna get outside of the car to show you one cool one. This is the other coding option that I will show you guys how to do. I'm gonna show you guys a different way. I'm gonna show you by using just the text file, just a different way. Some of the things aren't actually in NCS Expert, like some of the options you aren't always in NCS Expert. So I'm gonna show you one more way that you can actually code stuff just by hand. So this is one that I had to code by hand, and it's the double impulse flashers. So when you have your if you have your hazards on, it will flash like this. It might be hard to see in the sun, but if you can see how it's flashing slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow. So it's just another cool way of having your hazards on. But the next thing I'm going to show you how to code is, I'm going to show you how to code this real quick. And again, I told you there's many other options. I can't show them all. There's just so many. So I'll be back showing you guys how to code the last option. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to show you how to code is the double impulse flashers, and I'll show you some other ones that you should be able to code in here as well, if I can find them. So you're going to want to open up NCS Dummy, and then you're going to exit it, and it's going to say, the man file is not empty, is recommend that you emptying after coding. So we already coded once, so we're going to click OK. So the next thing, we're going to open up NCS Expert, make sure your car is in position 2, go File, Load Profile, RevTours, NCS Expert Profile, OK. Then we're going to click Start, Chassis, E46, because that's the chassis I have, AKMB, because that's what I need for where I'm reading the VIN from. So found the VIN, found the vehicle order, so we can click back. Now we can click Process ECU, and I want to process the ALSZ. Gonna click OK, OK here, change job, and we're gonna change it to coder date and lesson. OK. Execute the job, coding active, coding ended. Okay, sweet. So now we read the code from the lighting module. So now instead of using NCS dummy this time, I'm going to show you how to do it by hand. And sometimes they're both useful. Some people prefer doing it all by hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up your C drive, go to NCS Expert, go to the work folder, open up the one that's been modified last. So if you can change it to date modified, make sure that's at the top. So 1234 and it's 1235 now. So this is it. Make sure it says FSW underscore PSW dot file type is trace TRC. So now you're gonna open this. Make sure you open it with Notepad. Sorry. And then you're going to bring up the search command, so you can either go edit, find, and for the double impulse ones, I have to look it up again, but it is, you want to type in blink, that should bring it up, and it's right here. You're going to want to change this value where it says blink, warn blink, change it, it might say 2, change it from 2 to 4. So it's going to look like this. And we're going to want to change that to 4. And then as far as some other ones that are in here, I'm not sure what else is in here for options in the lighting module. There are force brake ones. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. Yeah, that one's not in here. I'm just not sure exactly everything that's in here. So for now, we're just going to do that. And again, I told you this bunch of different coding options you can go find online. People talk about what they did and what worked for them, so you can try them out, test them out. And it's not a bad idea to make up a backup of the file before you do it, just in case. I mean, I already know what I'm doing. I'm just doing basic little mods, so I'm not too concerned. But nevertheless, so once you change it to 4, you're going to want to click File, Save As. This time, you're going to want to change it to All Files, and you're going to want to change it to an F. You want to leave that, but type in .MAN, and then you're going to want to save it. And it's going to say it already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes. So now that that's replaced and that's in there, now open this up with pad again. And if you want to check, you can bring up the find command, type in link. It still says 4, so the new modified file has 4 in it, and that means we will have the impulsive blink. So now to actually code it to the card, exit out of here, open up NCS Expert, which the program's already running, so open up your copy that's already been running, and now you're going to want to click Change Job, change it to SG k+dcan. Okay. And execute the job. Coding active, and this one takes a little. So just wait. It still says coding active, so it's still coding everything. Remember, this one takes a while, but it finished. So now you're going to click, now it says coding ended. So you're all set, so you can click back to main. You can exit out of this, and you should be all set. All your coding, again, you can cycle your car again, but that's really it there is to coding. You should be all set. If you have any questions of how to do it, help with getting cable set up, anything like that, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them all. It's really not that difficult. Online, the guides just are awful. There's no easy way of telling you how to code your BMW, so I thought I'd make a video on it. It's a $20 cable. All the programs are free. You just need to have a laptop, basically, that you can plug into your computer and into your car, and that's all. You don't need to go to a dealer. You don't need to pay someone. You don't need to buy Carly. Everything's available. It's just learning how to use it, and it took me a while to actually learn how to use it. Once I learned how to use it, I realized how incredibly easy that is. The hard part's just finding translation, but that's really all. If you have any questions, like I said, drop them in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.